It's time to break down the Buffalo Bills' Week 8 opponent, the challenges they present, and what the Bills need to do to deal with them today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino from the Draft Network, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Happy Wednesday to you, and thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day. And as a reminder to you, we are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Well, the bye is now behind us. It is now time to focus on the Bills' next opponent and really the big stretch ahead, right? 11 more regular season games remaining for the Bills to do what they need to do in terms of the goals that I'm sure we all have for this team. Win the division, be the 1 seed, and get that first round bye. The next step in getting that done is Week 8. So let's get into it. The Buffalo Bills are back at home coming off the bye in Week 8 to face the Green Bay Packers. The game will be played on Sunday, October 30th at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time at Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. The game will be broadcasted on NBC. Mike Tirico is on the play-by-play. Chris Collinsworth, your game analyst, with Melissa Stark as the sideline reporter. This will be the 14th all-time meeting between the Bills and the Packers. The Bills are 8-5 all-time against Green Bay, and Green Bay is 0-6 all-time in Buffalo. Bills, as you know, enter this game 5-1 in first place of the AFC East and currently the number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. Packers are 3-4, second in the NFC North. They're currently the number 9 seed in the NFC playoffs. So if the season ended today, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers are not in the playoffs. They're 3-4, 3 wins coming against the Bears, Buccaneers, and Patriots. 4 losses come to the Vikings in Week 1, and then they've lost their last 3. The Giants, Jets, and Commanders have beat them each of the last 3 weeks. And the Bills will try to hand them their 4th consecutive loss. Before I get into the head coach and the quarterback and all the stuff that we normally do on these primer episodes, I want to address the comments that Aaron Rodgers made immediately after their most recent loss to the Commanders, where they blew a 2-score lead and Taylor Heineke was able to come back and lead Washington to a win. Aaron Rodgers said something that has stirred up a lot of discussion. He said, "This week, nobody is going to give us a chance. We're going to Buffalo on Sunday Night Football with a chance to get exposed. Shoot, might be the best thing for us." I really don't take much exception with these comments. He should say something like this. He's the leader of the football team. They are reeling right now. My outlook for this game is unaffected by any notion that the Packers are going to try really hard to win the game. Of course they are. It's professional football. They're going to try really hard to win the game. Everybody knows the Bills are the best team in the league. They're going to get everyone's best shot. It's a measuring stick for every single opponent. And of course, a Green Bay team that had Super Bowl aspirations entering this game that is 3-4 and lost the last 3 games. Of course, they're going to come out and say, hey, this might be the best thing for us. A game like this for us to laser in and give it our best opportunity to go out there and win a football game that nobody's given us a chance to do. So I think Aaron Rodgers is being quite candid and honest about that general outlook for him and the Packers entering this game. So I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people will run with that in ways that I won't. But the bottom line is there's this belief that the Packers are going to come out highly motivated and going to try really hard to win the game. Of course they are. Just like if they were 7-0 entering this game. So let's move on. Let's talk about the dynamics of this football team that the Bills are going to face. The head coach for the Green Bay Packers, Matt LaFleur, 42 years old. He's in his 4th season as the Packers head coach. So far, he's been really successful. 42-14 is his record, 2-3 in the playoffs. His first year, they were 13-3. Their second year, they were 13-3. Their third year, they were 13-4. And now they're 3-4. So they've already matched the 4 losses that they had last year. Matt LaFleur came up under Gary Kubiak, Mike Shanahan, Sean McVay, right? That type of coaching tree. And for LaFleur's career, he's challenged 26 plays and won 13 of them. So that's a pretty good record there, 50%. Quarterback for the Green Bay Packers is Aaron Rodgers, 6'2", 225 pounds. He's 38 years old, first-round pick in 2005, number 24 overall by the Packers. Of course, he sat behind Brett Favre for his first 3 seasons before becoming Green Bay starter in 2008. The Packers are 142-70-1 during the regular season with Rodgers as their starting quarterback. He's a 4-time NFL MVP, including the last 2 seasons. Aaron Rodgers is a surefire first-ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. Now, he's not having his best season. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers and statistically and metrically what he's been able to do this year, and talk about what the Bills need to do to keep him below his career standards. So far this year, Aaron Rodgers is completing 66.8% of his passes, 228 passing yards per game, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a passer rating of 110.5. He's averaging 228 passing yards per game. That's the lowest of his career by a good amount. His career average is 259. He's at 228. He's averaging 6.03 adjusted net yards per attempt. And adjusted net yards per attempt as a quarterback is how many yards you gain for your offense when you drop back to pass. So it includes lost yardage for sacks, which I think is a good relevant number. I think it's a good holistic measurement of the average amount of yards gained when you throw the football. And for Aaron Rodgers, 6.03, that's also the lowest of his career. His career average is 7.41, so a significant amount below his career average in terms of adjusted net yards per attempt. So far in 2022, he's getting the ball out in 2.43 seconds. That's extremely fast. 3rd fastest in the NFL. The ball is coming out quick. Part of that is a screen-heavy offense, and part of that is just a lack of trust in his protection and obviously his weapons, right? This isn't a full complement of weapons around Aaron Rodgers that he's used to throwing the football to. There's no Devontae Adams, right? That's the big one. That's a guy he trusted for years, and that guy's no longer there. And they've been banged up. We'll get into all of that. But when you think about why it's at 2.43 seconds, it's a heavy emphasis on the screen game. It's a lack of trust in his protection and the musical chairs that have been this Packers offensive line. And, of course, just not having an ideal complement of weapons. 58% of the time, Aaron Rodgers gets the ball out in under 2.5 seconds. 42% of the time, he holds it for over 2.5 seconds. And these splits right here are pretty significant. When he gets it out under 2.5 seconds, he's completing 77% of his passes, 6.9 yards per attempt, and a passer rating of 112.1. When he holds it for over 2.5 seconds, and this is where it kind of hits home, he's only completing 51.6% of his passes, 6 yards per attempt, and a 68.2 passer rating. That 68.2 passer rating when holding onto the football for over 2.5 seconds is 4th worst in the NFL. Again, trust. Doesn't trust his protection. Doesn't trust his weapons. He's also not scrambling at all. He's only has 2 scrambles so far this year. So when you force Aaron Rodgers to hold the football, the results have not been good this year. The average depth of target for Aaron Rodgers this year is 7 yards, 26th in the NFL. So very low average depth of target. However, he is trying to throw the football down the field. 13.5% of his attempts are 20-plus down the field. That's 7th highest in the NFL. When he targets somebody 20-plus down the field, he's 10 of 33 for 286 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a passer rating of 81. That passer rating of 81 on targeted throws 20 plus down the field, 14th in the NFL, so very middle of the pack. 26% of his passing attempts, or dropbacks, if you will, are play action. That's 15th in the NFL. His splits are very similar with and without play action. But here's the big number, or one of the big numbers. There's been a lot of standout numbers here as we reflect on Aaron Rodgers through 7 games in 2022, and it's that 20% of his passes are screens. That's first in the NFL. The highest percentage of throws that are screen passes in the NFL, Aaron Rodgers. He's getting the ball out quick, and they're running a lot of screens. In terms of his pressure splits, these are significant as well, as they usually are. When Aaron Rodgers is kept clean, he completes 74% of his passes, 6.8 yards per attempt, passer rating of 101.4. When he's under pressure, he only completes 48% of his passes, 5.8 yards per attempt, and a passer rating of 71.1. So when he's pressured versus when he's kept clean, the completion percentage comes down 26%. He loses 1 yard per attempt, and his passer rating drops 30 points. So it's obviously an important game to get pressure on the quarterback. If you want to make Aaron Rodgers a worse quarterback, you got to get pressure on him. In terms of blitz splits, they're very comparable. The screen frequency here is what the talking point should be when we talk about blitz, right? 20% screen rate. They want you to blitz. So this isn't the game to blitz. Not that the Bills blitz very often, the lowest in the NFL in terms of percentage of plays, but they're inviting that. They want that. They want you to blitz and be able to kind of throw or replace the blitz with the ball, and that feeds right into what they want to do offensively. So this isn't the week to blitz, and I'm confident that Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott are well aware of the dynamics of the Green Bay Packers offense. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available, and that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. You can create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. LinkedIn Jobs has simple tools like screening questions to make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Folks, I got to tell you about Birddogs. I recently got a pair of their shorts and joggers, and they are awesome. They have great design. They're super fashionable, extremely comfortable. The joggers are perfect for golf or wearing a hoodie with. I love that look. They're super high quality, and they have something for everyone. They actually just launched sweatpants. So if you're up north and you want something a little bit warmer, you could check out the sweatpants. If you're in Florida, you want some shorts, you can find those as well at Birddogs. Birddogs is higher quality than Lululemon, but costs less. Joggers, I'm a big joggers guy. They're $20 cheaper at Birddogs compared to Lululemon, and they are better quality. Go to birddogs.com, enter promo code LOCKEDON, and they will throw in a free Birddogs rope hat. That's birddogs.com, promo code LOCKEDON, and boom, a free Birddogs rope hat with your pair of Birddogs. The most comfortable shorts, pants, and sweatpants with built-in liners. You will not take these things off, I promise you. The offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers is Adam Stenavich, 39 years old. He's in his first season with the Packers and as an NFL offensive coordinator. His journey to getting to this point, he started off as in the NFL as an assistant offensive line coach in San Francisco from 2017 to 2018. Then he came to Green Bay. He's been their offensive line coach 2019 through 2021, and now he's the offensive coordinator replacing Nathaniel Hackett, who, of course, is now the head coach of the Denver Broncos. So far in 2022, they're averaging 18.3 points per game. That's 23rd in the NFL. They're converting 35% of their third downs. That's 25th. They score a touchdown 60% of the time that they go to the red zone. That's 9th. They're averaging 331 yards per game. That's 20th. 110 rushing yards per game. That's 21st. And 221 passing yards per game. That's 17th. Let's look at their personnel. And I want to start with their running backs because I think the best thing about this offense is their running backs. Not that they've been a super effective rushing offense. It's just the best things that they have. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones is a really good NFL running back. He's super competitive. He's got good contact balance. He's really good through contact. And he's an outstanding receiver, one of the best receiving backs in the NFL. And so I know that the scheme somewhat limits Aaron Jones right now, and certainly the musical chairs that has been their offensive line limits Aaron Jones, but I think Aaron Jones is one of the best running backs in the NFL. Legit burst, acceleration, receiving skills, and contact balance, and there's a competitive toughness about the way that he carries the football that I think anybody that loves football would love. I'm a big Aaron Jones fan. They also have A.J. Dillon, big, bruising running back with a ton of speed, like built like Saquon Barkley, probably a thicker version of Saquon Barkley, and super explosive for his size. So downhill guy that is going to really challenge you with his contact balance and power. And so Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, as good of a running back tandem as you're going to find out there in the NFL. And again, a lot of respect for Aaron Jones. At wide receiver, this is a dicey situation for them because it's an underwhelming group when everyone's healthy and everyone's not healthy. The players I think they will have for Sunday, and again, this is something we're going to have to pay attention to this week in terms of availability when it comes to the wide receivers and the offensive line. They're going to have Romeo Doubs, who's a rookie out of Nevada. He's their most targeted player this year. He's a high variance player. He's got decent size and he's got some vertical ability. He's just not a very physical player, and he has very inconsistent hands and ball skills. And so I'm sure he's already been very frustrating for Packers fans and Aaron Rodgers because you just take the good with the bad with Romeo Doubs. But I think he struggles to beat press coverage. I'd be willing to play a lot of press coverage on him. And, just understanding that he can make plays down the field, but he's highly inconsistent. Sammy Watkins, whatever's left of him, they have him, and he's been banged up this year. He actually played last week. We'll see what his ability is going to be, right? I know he's been injured and underwhelming really in recent years in the NFL. And then Samori Toure, who's a 7th-round pick. That's all I'm confident in them having on Sunday at wide receiver. Alan Lazard, who's a guy that has the most time on task with Aaron Rodgers, he got injured on Sunday, and I think there's a belief that he's going to miss multiple weeks. I don't think he's going to play Sunday. Randall Cobb is on injured reserve. He won't play. Christian Watson, rookie 2nd-round pick, he missed last week with a hamstring injury. I don't know if he's going to be available this week, and he's not been extremely effective so far this year, although I like him. I liked him coming out of North Dakota State, a height, weight, speed guy. I think he's got a chance to be a good player in the NFL, but he's a rookie from a small school that's injured. So just a tough situation here with this wide receiver core. Looking at their tight end situation, Robert Tonyan is their featured tight end. He's a catch the football, get tackled guy, right? He's not super dynamic, sit in zones, catch the ball, and that's what he can do. They have Mercedes Lewis, who's been in the league for, I think, 30 years. Big-time leader, big-time locker room guy. He's a blocker, right? He's Lee Smith, right? That's what he is. And then Josiah DeGuara, who they drafted in the 3rd round, if I'm not mistaken, pretty recently. He's not really turned into a meaningful weapon for them, but obviously a fairly high draft pick that has some athleticism that you'd think they'd want to get going at some point here. But that's their tight end situation. Their offensive line is kind of a who knows. I mean, I don't know who's going to play. David Bakhtiari, their left tackle, one of the best in the league. He's been banged up, it feels like, for the last several years. Missed last week with an injury. Will he play this week? Maybe. If he does, there's a big domino effect here for this group in general. Last week, rookie Zach Tom played left tackle for them, and I like him. I think Zach Tom's going to be a good starter in the NFL, still a young player. Last week, Elgton Jenkins played left guard for them, and he's a guy that can literally play any spot. And it feels like they always just kind of plug him in where they need him most on a week-to-week basis. He's extremely versatile, and he's extremely good, but he's also had some injury issues as well. But I think he should be available and ready to go on Sunday. Will he play left guard? I don't know. Will he play right tackle? It's all possible. Their center will be Josh Myers. That's been their center. He's a young player out of Ohio State. I think he has a chance to be a quality player for them for a long time. At right guard, I think it'll be John Runyon, who's the son of John Runyon, longtime Philadelphia Eagles player. Late round pick a few years ago. I think of him more as a backup, and he's starting for them. And then the right tackle is Yash Nijman, young player out of Virginia Tech, has played a lot for them because of the injuries that they've had, particularly to David Bakhtiari, but a guy that I think is very beatable for obviously the Bills' defensive ends, and a guy that's more desired to be a backup than a guy that's had to play as much as he has recently. So the big domino effect here is David Bakhtiari. If he plays, I'm sure there's a big pivot point for all these guys, but it'll be some combination of the five guys I just talked about with Josh Myers at center. So, you look at Aaron Rodgers and the below standards, his standards, right? The NFL MVP the last 2 years, and it's pretty easy to understand what's going on here. They don't have any stability with their offensive line, and their receiver core, their weapons outside of running backs is just not good enough. And that's a decision that they made, right? They traded away Davante Adams, and they gave Aaron Rodgers $50 million. And in doing so, they used their draft capital on defensive players, right? They draft a defensive player literally every single year. So I don't think they've done a great job of giving Aaron Rodgers what he needs at this stage of his career to be productive. And I know that's kind of crazy coming off of 2 MVP seasons, but you take away Davante Adams, and all of a sudden this offense has a very different feel. And there were times last year where they didn't have Davante Adams, and you could see this, right? And I don't even know if a healthy Allen Lazard and a healthy Randall Cobb really changes it that much. It's a tough situation. And then you start to wonder about Aaron Rodgers and just his makeup, right, for handling these struggles. And you don't have a great situation on offense. You just don't right now. The question is, and I'll kind of get into this with my keys, actually the key that I have for number 5 that I'm just going to say right now, because I think it plays into the stuff I just discussed, is don't let this be the week they get right on offense, right? It's still Aaron Rodgers. He's still a Hall of Famer. He's still unbelievably accurate. Now, he's limited by what's around him, but he's still Aaron Rodgers. At some point, these offensive numbers are going to get better. Make sure that doesn't start this week. And you would think with the Bills and the defensive success that they've had this year, that they're going to be in good shape, right? They're healthy. They're coming off the bye. The Bills should be in good shape here for this team to go out there and play good defense. But like I said, there's some positive regression coming for the Packers on offense, and you want to make sure that doesn't start this week. The next key that I have written down is be ready to stop the run. They're shorthanded at wide receiver. The best thing they have on offense is Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I don't think they want to play a shootout with Josh Allen and the Bills in Buffalo. They're going to want to run the football with the best thing that they have on offense. So be ready to stop the run. Next is be ready to tackle quick passes. We talked about the screen game. We talked about how quick the ball's coming out for Aaron Rodgers, the low average depth of target. Oh, by the way, Aaron Rodgers is only averaging 4.2 completed air yards per attempt, dead last in the NFL. He's going to throw it quick. You got to make tackles. Next, be willing to play some man coverage. Aaron Rodgers is not running the football at all, and I think you have the guys in the secondary to play man. And I do it a little bit. There's not one single receiver for the Packers that I think is a mismatch for the Bills in man coverage. And so put Kyer Elam over Romeo Doubs and dare Romeo Doubs to get off the line and get on top of Kyer Elam. I'll take Elam all day long in that matchup. So be willing to play some man in this game. And then the last thing is rush for and be disciplined on the second level. Quick passes, screen, Aaron Jones' involvement in the passing game, all of that stuff's going to happen here. And that puts some stress on Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds to read, react, right? Play under control, take good angles, and tackle. That's the keys. That's what you got to do this week. And the last point, we'll go back to the first point. Don't let this be the week the Green Bay Packers get it together on the offensive side of the football. I hope you've been getting in on the action over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is my favorite daily fantasy resource. How does it work? You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they will score more or less in their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. There's no competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. And it's not just football. They have all the sports, NBA, NHL, MLB, golf, college, disc golf, Euro basketball, cricket, you name it. You can find it over at PrizePicks, and entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is that easy. So download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code LOCKEDON. So if you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Just don't forget to use our promo code LOCKEDON at sign up for an instant deposit match worth up to $100. We all know when it comes to sports, teamwork is everything. Every player on the field has their role that contributes to helping their team win. And honestly, it's the same when it comes to game day snacking. Whether it's making the dip or bringing the chips, everyone has their role. And if it's you bringing the chips, let me tell you, I'm going to make you the MVP because Zach's Mighty Tortilla Chips are out here changing the game. These are the best tortilla chips in the business. My wife and I, we love them. They're delicious. They're crunchy. They're made to dip. And you never have to worry about them breaking in half when dunking them in guacamole. And I love guacamole. We make the artichoke dips, the spinach dips, chicken tortilla soup, chili. We are eating tortilla chips quite a bit here in this household. And Zach's Mighty Tortilla Chips are our go-to. Also love that they're grown from organic Flint corn in upstate New York. So be the hero of this week's tailgate and grab a bag of Zach's Mighty Tortilla Chips at your local Wegmans. Zach's Mighty Tortilla Chips, making you the MVP. There's a lot better story to tell when it comes to the Packers on defense. The coordinator for this team on defense is Joe Barry, 52 years old. He's in his second season with the Packers, 6th season total as an NFL defensive coordinator. He got his start in the early 2000s as the linebackers coach for the Buccaneers, right? Those great Buccaneers defense. He was the linebackers coach from 2001 to 2006. Then he went to the Lions to be their defensive coordinator, 2007 to 2008. The Bucs linebackers coach in 2009. University of Southern California linebackers coach in 2010. Chargers linebackers coach 2011 to 2014. Then he goes to Washington to be their DC 2015 and 2016. Then he goes to the Rams 2017 to 2020. He's the Rams assistant head coach and linebackers coach with Sean McVay. And of course, he has some carryover, some crossover there with Matt LaFleur. And then in 2021, he comes to Green Bay and he's their defensive coordinator. So far in 2020, they're playing okay on defense. 20.9 points per game. That's 14th in the NFL. 308 total yards per game. That's 8th. So top 10 in total defense. They give up 139 rushing yards per game. That's 27th. 4.8 yards per carry, also 27th. So the run defense has been a liability for Green Bay so far this year. Their pass defense has not been a liability. They're only giving up 168 passing yards per game. That's first in the NFL. Their third down percentage is 30%, which is third. And their red zone touchdown percentage is 44%, which is 6th. So, like I said, this defense is doing some things well. They're limiting passing yards. Their average depth of target against their defense is only 6 yards. That's second lowest in the NFL. That's lower than the Bills. Third highest pressure rate, 28%. They don't get a ton of sacks, but the pressure has been there. They're really good on third down. They're really good in the red zone. So, a good, formidable defense here for the Bills to go up against coming out of the bye. Let's talk about their personnel real quick here. On the interior defensive line, Kenny Clark, one of the best in the game. The Bills have played all the good defensive tackles this year, I swear. Jeffrey Simmons, Aaron Donald. I'm sure that, of course, the names are escaping me as I try to do this rapid fire, but the Bills have faced some Chris Jones, really good interior defensive lineman. Kenny Clark's as good as any of them. Phenomenal football player, highly disruptive, good hands. He's going to be a load for Saffold and Morse and Ryan Bates on the interior. Next to him is Jarran Reed, playing, I think, the majority of snaps next to Kenny Clark. Jarran Reed's a veteran player. Has been flashy, right? He's got some penetration skills. He's got some run defense ability. I don't think he's been amazing for Green Bay, but he's had some really high-level moments throughout his NFL career. And then you'll see Dean Lowry, who's a, heavy hands, gap control player. Tadaro Slayton, who's a big 350-pound nose tackle. And then Devontae Wyatt, one of their first-round picks this year out of Georgia, an unreal athlete that I think has a ton of potential. He just hadn't been effective yet this year. He hasn't got a lot of opportunity. But at some point, Devontae Wyatt's going to turn it on and be a really good player for them, but hadn't happened yet. On the edge, they have Rashawn Gary, who's phenomenal. I don't think we're talking enough about him in the football community and the player he's developed into since they made him a first-round pick a few years ago. For Rashawn Gary, it's always been just about, okay, what's the body type? What's the position that fits him well? And they've figured it out. They move him around, but, I mean, this guy's been highly, highly disruptive over the last couple of seasons, and I think he's one of the standout front seven players in the NFL. Preston Smith, a veteran, alongside him, and then a rookie in Kingsley Enagbari out of South Carolina, kind of a lean pass rusher, but he's been fairly effective so far this year. I think he's been a pleasant surprise. So up front, Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary are dudes, and then Jarran Reed and Preston Smith are excellent players in their own right, with some young players that are pretty good, and Devontae Wyatt and Kingsley Enagbari. At linebacker, Devondre Campbell has turned into a star for them. Came over last year, kind of a just 1-year deal. See what you can do. Winds up being a starter and being the heart and soul of the defense, and they sign him to an extension. He's been phenomenal. I think he's one of the better stories in the league, to be honest with you, when you consider just growth and development and what he's developed into. Next to him is Quay Walker, one of their first-round picks, extremely athletic linebacker out of Georgia. He's been very inconsistent this year. And so, again, it'll probably come together for him at some point. He's playing a lot of snaps, but he's been mostly inconsistent this year. At corner, this whole secondary is good. Eric Stokes, first-round pick recently, second year actually, 4.2 speed, really smooth, fluid athlete. He's got the athleticism to mirror and match anybody. Jaire Alexander, I think there's probably a case to be made for him as one of the best 5 corners in the league. I think there's a case. He is. He's one of the 5 best corners in the league. He's phenomenal. It's going to be a great matchup. Him and Diggs is going to be as good as it gets in terms of route running versus coverage ability. And then Rasul Douglas, who's very different than Stokes and Alexander, doesn't have the same twitch and athleticism and speed, but physicality and ball skills, he gives you those dynamics. And, he just recently signed an extension. They've actually played him a lot in the slot this year, which you wouldn't expect, but I think they're willing to play matchups with these players, including putting Jaire in the slot a little bit too. So 3 really outstanding corners, and, Stokes is a little bit of a younger player, but the other guys are vets that know what they're doing. At safety, they got a really quality safety tandem. Darnell Savage, former first-round pick, versatile, physical. He's got ball skills. I mean, he's a do-it-all guy. I think he's one of the best young safeties in the league. And then Adrian Amos, who's just boringly solid, right? You're not going to love all the splash plays, but he doesn't get out of position. He stays leveraged, and he takes away throws down the field. I mean, we talk about Micah Hyde and his ability to keep things in front of him, and that's why the Bills have a low average depth of target against their defense. Well, that's true for Adrian Amos as well. So they got a really good group here. I mean, they're loaded with first-round picks all over the place. They got athleticism. They've got physicality. This is a good group. This is a good defensive team in terms of personnel. It'll be a really good challenge for the Bills offense, who's been great all year, right? Number 1 offense in the league, 440 yards per game. I think they're like 20 yards higher than the number 2 team. Bills have been great on offense, but this is going to be a good challenge for them with a lot of versatility with the skill sets and just a lot of talent. So got a lot of respect for this Packers defense. So what are my keys for the Bills on offense against this Packers defense? Number one is run the ball. They're not stopping anybody running the ball. 27th in the league in yards per game and yards per carry. You got to get the run game going here. And I think it's shown some positive signs of life, both against Pittsburgh and the Chiefs, the Bills' last two games. Another step, right? You've had the bye week to look at it. You've had the bye week to examine your operation and figure out what's working and what's not working. And this is the week to come out and showcase your ability to run the ball. Number two is be mindful of how they defend things deep, right? This is an outstanding secondary that matches up very well with the Bills on with terms of their weapons. If there's a corner in the NFL that you would pick that can mirror and match Steph Diggs, it's Jaire Alexander. If you think of a matchup player for Gabriel Davis for the size and ball skills that he presents down the field, Rasul Douglas. Eric Stokes has the athleticism to mirror and match anybody. Oh, by the way, they've got smart safeties that are, Savage is an explosive athlete and a physical hitter, and Amos is smart and stays leverage. I mean, this is a really good matchup for the Bills in terms of how the other team matches up. I think they match up as well as any team the Bills have faced so far in terms of their secondary. So be mindful of all that. There's going to be some real challenges this year, this week, with your ability to throw the football. I'm not saying you can't do it. I mean, Josh Allen breaks all the rules, right? Josh Allen's capable of exposing this pass defense. But I think you need to have some respect for it. They're good. Number three is this is going to be a team that's hungry for turnovers, right? We talked about the offense. They're 3-4. The best thing about this team right now is their pass defense. One knock on their pass defense is they only have 2 interceptions this year in 7 games. And it's not because they don't have ball skills. They're just not turning it over. So they're going to be hungry for some turnovers. And they know that they're going to probably need a little help to win this game. They're 10-point underdogs. Aaron Rodgers is a 10-point underdog. They're going to be hungry to play the ball. And number 4, I want to use a quote that I picked up from Ken Dorsey's press conference this week. He said, smart, not conservative. I think that's the approach you need to have in this game. Smart, not conservative. Run the football, test the run defense. Throw the ball like you do, but be mindful of how they match up and that they're a hungry team that they're not trying to lose their 4th game in a row. Might take some chances. Play smart, but not conservative. Real quick on their special teams or kicker, Mason Crosby, 38 years old. He's been their kicker since 2013, 85% for his career in Green Bay. Phenomenal kicker. Their punter, another veteran, Pat O'Donnell, was the Bears punter from 2014 to 2021. He's a rock-solid NFL veteran punter. The returner, this is not a great situation. Amari Rodgers has been the returner really for the last 2 years. He's not been very effective, and he's got 2 muffs already this season, including one last week against Washington. So I'm not sure if there's a pivot for them to make here, but Amari Rodgers has not been an effective return guy, and he does kick and punt return for them. So I think there's a chance they could make a move there with somebody on the roster. So stay tuned there. So there you have it. There's the Green Bay Packers. That's my thoughts on them, the keys that I think for the Bills to get a win on Sunday, a game that I'll be at. I'm going to share those details with you real soon. We do have a tailgate planned and opportunity to say hello, and I hope that happens. I hope to say hello to as many of you as possible. I'll share those details just as soon as I can in the coming days, so make sure you stay tuned here on this podcast, but also social media, at the Joe Marino on Twitter, where I'll be sure to share those details. Tomorrow, crossover discussion with Peter Bukowski of Locked On Packers. Very excited to kind of get his takes on this game and kind of get a pulse check for what he's seeing with this Green Bay Packers team, and if there's hope for them to turn the corner. So make sure that you come on back and check that out. Make sure that you're subscribed. We'd love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow.